Hey guys, Alison here from Ladner Village Arts and Crafts. And for today's Friday inspiration project, we're talking about watercolor backgrounds. We have just posted some watercolor classes for adults on our website. But I wanted to show you that watercolors are not just for painting. You can create wonderful backgrounds like this with watercolors. And there's another option too. So this is a background from a pack from Vicki Boutin. She is well known for doing a lot of mixed media, using a lot of vibrant colors. So last year or thereabouts, she came out with this pad that had 36 mixed media, like printed papers. Now this is a nice thick cardstock with kind of a canvasy texture to it, and you get a whole lot of fun backgrounds that you can just throw your photos on and create a scrapbook page, or chop it up, put it in an art journal, make a card out of it, whatever you want. So one's like this. So this one, you start with the watercolor, and then she's stenciled on some gold stars. This is just watercolor with a stencil over top, and then a couple that are just variations on watercolors. So I wanted to show you how to do that, to make this sort of look with your own watercolors. So I've got a couple of products. We have more in store, but Altenew sent this tin of watercolors when we placed an order with them, and so thank you very much, Altenew. And I'm gonna make one background with these, and then if you've been following along, you know I love my distress oxides. Well, these we can basically turn into kind of a watercolor paint, so I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, my Altenew watercolors. So this is just plain old white cardstock. So it will buckle as I add water to it. Vicki Boutin does also make sort of a pre-primed cardstock, and I probably should be using that. However, I'm filming this at home and I left that at the stores. So what can you do? Okay, so when you're using watercolor paints like this, you need to get them wet first. So I've just got a little spray bottle full of tap water, and I'm just spraying my paints. I don't know which ones I'm going to use, but I'm just going to spray them all. And then, I am adding quite a bit of water on there because, yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm doing right now, but like as far as design and all that kind of fun stuff. And then this watercolor set came with a water brush. So this has a brush tip on one end, fills with water. So really you could skip the spraying step if you just wanted to use the brush. So let's just go in here with this gorgeous pink, and I'm just gonna wing it. I want a fair bit of water. So now this brush is a fairly fine tip, which is great for doing some detailed work, say with stencils or whatnot. And they're super easy to clean, these water brushes. You just, onto a paper towel, you just squeeze out water through the brush tip and wipe it onto your paper towel until there's no more color showing. The bristles are stained, but there's no paint there. So that's a really great tip for detail. I also have this other one, and I don't know the brand. I've had this for years, so this is just in my stash. It's a little ragged, but you see how it's got a much fatter tip to it. So I can get a lot more paint on my brush, which will help me sort of create a bigger, you know what, let's make a circle. Not that happy with the sort of streaky lines. Let's do a circle. Why not? Okay, so now I'm going to go in. I'm going to grab a different color. And I didn't fill this one up with water, which I probably should have. So this one looks like it's pretty full. So I'm just going to take a minute and transfer some water. Okay, so now my brush pen is full. So to this, let's add some turquoise. And I am gonna try and mix the colors a bit. Now, I don't know if you can see this on the camera. I will hold up the paper in a little bit, but it is starting to buckle. Totally fine. Ooh, I love that. See, when you mix your colors together and you get that lovely purple. I'm just playing. A lot of my mixed media backgrounds, it's just me playing. Because honestly, most art is play. So let's get in there with some yellow. How about? I'm gonna add it down here, sort of crisp and clean. Get a nice circle going. And then I can bring it in to that turquoise. And if we remember back to kindergarten, yellow and blue, make green. So these watercolors are gorgeous. They mix really well. Let's see what color this is. It looks like a really deep, either green or blue. Ooh, look at that green. Sometimes when the colors are so deep on the in the sort of puck here, it's hard to tell what they are. And I'm sorry if you can hear my neighbor's kids. It's summer. The windows are open. They are being very, very, very loud. And obviously upset about something. All right. So let's see if we can get this nice, gorgeous color up there. And I'm just cleaning my brush in between. So I have a very saturated paper towel here beside me now. That's fine. It's paper, so it can go into the recycling or even your food waste if you have that, compost. Okay, so that's just really, really simple. Obviously, you can cover your whole background if you like. Do I have a stencil handy? That's the next question. Okay. I've got this one. So let's do a little painting through the stencil. I'll use my big brush again. What color? Let's do this one. Just to show you how easy it is to do this sort of thing. There's quite a bit of water on there, so it's not going to be perfect. That is okay. Art, again, lots and lots of play. Okay. So I'm going to stop there with that. You can take any watercolor set you have, whether it's, we don't have any Alta New ones in stock, but I am thinking of bringing some in. But whether it's an Alta New watercolor set, it's a dollar store watercolor set, it's a super expensive, you know, Winsor & Newton, we have some of those in stock, but you can use them to create whatever kind of background you want. And if you want to paint a watercolor picture in your background, you go for it. Okay, so let me show you how buckled that is. It will flatten slightly as it dries, but if I'm making a scrapbook layout out of this, and once it's dried, I'm loading up pattern paper and pictures and whatnot, and then I'm putting it into an album, it'll flatten out. I'm not at all worried about it. Okay, so let's put this one aside, and I will show you how we can get a very similar effect with my Distress Oxides. Okay, so for this, I'm not going to use my brushes. I'm going to use some old packaging. So I just literally pulled this out of the trash. And I'm just going to cut it down to a bit of a smaller size here. Okay, so you can use, I wouldn't use saran wrap. I mean, you can, but you need something with a little bit more stiffness. Overhead projector paper is really great as well. So let's start with picked raspberries. So these are Distress Oxides, which means they're a hybrid ink. So they're a combination between a dye ink and a pigment ink, which means they take a little bit longer to dry if you're stamping with them. So you can emboss with them, you can manipulate them. They react with water like you just saw. I just sprayed that and it's beaded up. So they react with water. They will blend like the watercolors we did before. So I'm just gonna place my plastic packaging in there, pick it up, smoosh it down. Totally technical term for that. All right. Okay. And I'm just gonna clean this off. If you feel like that's a waste of ink, then when you do this, grab some extra cardstock, card fronts and all the rest of it, and soak it up on that. I'm not that good. I know there's plenty more ink in my ink pad. Okay, just quickly clean off my packaging, and let's pick a different color. So if we follow the other one, we went to a blue. So let's go to Salvage Patina. It's not quite the same color blue as on the other example, but I think it'll be fine. So this one is kind of a turquoisey, and we're just gonna not off the screen there. Just gonna do the same sort of thing. I got a nice drip. Okay, and we can keep doing this with as many colors as you like until you get the desired effect that you like. Now, one thing about the oxides, as I clean, oh, I just swiped through a nice big drop. Oh well. One thing about the oxides is if you are going to add, say, stenciling, especially if you're going to do anything with like metallics or like stencil paste, or even just regular ink, like say you want to stamp on top of this, I would recommend you dry it thoroughly before you start stamping on top. Oh, I just got ink everywhere. It's okay. Nothing is precious in this office. Oh, that's a gorgeous bright color, isn't it? Okay, I think that's good. It doesn't need to overtake anything. Let's add a little bit of purple just down into this corner here. Yeah, okay, and that's the other thing that happens. I added purple on top of yellow, and my yellow was still very wet. So I've got brown. I'm not that worried about it, but it's a good lesson to show you guys. When the inks are wet, you will get some blending. So you'll see where the Salvage patina and the mustard seed have blended. You do get some of that green coming. Up here where the yellow and the pink have blended, you've got some orange. And here where yellow and purple mixed, you got brown, because that's actually how you get brown. If you add too many colors on top of each other when they're wet, you will just get mud. So not a good idea. So try and dry your oxides in between. But still a very lovely look. Now, let's take our stencil. Did I clean this? Hard to tell. Now the ink under here is wet. So I'm not going to get a very perfect image. And this time I am going to use this dry. So I need to get something to stamp that with. Hang on one second. So this is just an ink blending tool. I'm gonna go stamp all over my ink pad to activate that ink. And I'm just gonna go kind of randomly through the stencil here. And I am trying to get it into some of the areas where the ink is wet, just to show you guys the difference. Okay, let's see what that looks like. That's kind of fun. So a lot cleaner and clearer than when we used the watercolor paint. And that's because it's dry. If I had tried to do this with a wet stamp, or even with like the puddled ink as it was puddling on my desk, I would not get the same sort of image. So that's kind of fun too. It's like tone on tone. Okay. So those are two quick examples of watercolor backgrounds. Do I have a preference? For sure, this one. This is my style. If I'm doing mixed media, this is what I would be doing. It's sort of splotchy and random. If I'm stenciling and I'm ink blending, it's a different thing. Watercolor paints, I would definitely probably use the watercolor to maybe paint in a stamp or the stenciling. So yeah. And if I had any talent, actually watercolor painting a scene, I would definitely go for that. I don't have that kind of talent. So, but if you want to learn how to watercolor, then there is a beginner watercolor class that's starting in September. Go onto our website and sign up. And a far better teacher than me will teach you all you need to know about watercolors. Okay? So I will be turning these into something. We will see what. And stay tuned to social media, to our stories, to Facebook, and see what they turn into. So have a great Friday. I hope you make something creative. And if you do, we'd love to see it. Share a link on Instagram underneath in the comments or on Facebook. Thanks very much. Bye.